Hi guys, I want to make this one relatively short. I've actually taught this before. I came across my notes. I think it's so daggum good that I want to cover it again. Many of y'all know who Harry Connick Jr. is. Some of you go back to like my wife in high school where she loved him because he was the balladeer, you know, the first one of those since the Rat Pack, and now you've got Bublé or whatever. But either way, some of you remember him from his acting, movie, TVs, and things like that. Many of you only know him because, oh my gosh, he's the new judge for American Idol and he sits next to Jennifer Lopez, who, by the way, can we discuss that freak of nature? How the frig are you one of the hottest women in the world in your 20s, even hotter in 30, and now you're pushing 50, and you look free and better than you did at 20? I'm ashamed of myself. Holy cow, insane. What she goes through, I guarantee I would not pay that price. But wow, ridiculous. So now they had some fun and play with that. Harry Connick Jr. is the guy that gets to sit next to her at the judging on that show. There is a story that is told about Harry Connick Jr. where a young man came up to him, and I don't remember the exact. So basically it was a nut of, people like you. How do I get them to like me? How do you get people to like you? And as you know, having watched him, he seems to be one of those neat guys that actually takes things to heart and really does try to teach and help. And he looked at the young man and he said, the secret to being liked is to always ask 5 questions before you say anything about yourself. People won't remember what you said about yourself, but they'll always remember what you asked about them. Ask 5 questions about the other person before saying anything about yourself. Most of us don't do that. Most of us can't do that. Most of us struggle with it. Most of us think that if you were smart enough to ask me about me, finally I met the only intelligent person in the universe, and huzzah, you must really want to know about me. Since you're so intelligent, I won't waste time talking about you. I'm just going straight into it. Absolutely not true. And if somebody comes to see you in a sales setting, a sales situation, in a sales position, you fall into that fallacy on accident. And it's not even ego or anything. It's just, man, they came here, they took their time, they wanted to learn about You Build It, they wanted to understand this, they wanted to study it. I own the respect of that. I'm just going to talk about You Build It. And I get what you're thinking. I get where you're coming from. I get what you want to do. You're absolutely wrong. They do want to hear that. But this is how you sell. You sit down, the whole system is structured around what? Forcing you to ask them questions about themselves. They're questions we already know the answer for. We already know the answer for. What's the first one? What's your name? What's your phone number? You could have never contacted these people and gotten them into the office for a formal presentation if you did not already know their name and phone number, let alone their mailing address and email. Think about this, please. Why do we ask it? To force ourselves to go down this path. Now, the more personal you can make it, the better. Now, don't sit somebody down and go, hey, Mr. Johnson, it's good to meet you. By the way, I was wondering, what kind of booze do you like to drink? And do you prefer it when you do the naughty? Let's not get personal or stupid or moronic. It has the flow. But you want to know about them. Somebody comes up to you and says, hey, tell me about You Build It. You can't be a jerk. You can't go, I'll tell you in a minute. But first I want to know, why do you want to know? However, if you handle that right, it's not bad. You Build It's a construction consulting company. But what do you want to know? What's your interest? Maybe I could try to help make it more real for you. And you might not even put it that way. We help people build or remodel their own homes. Why do you ask? We help people build and remodel their own homes. Have you ever considered doing so? 20,000 things, but it should always flow into a question, and not those that I asked honestly kind of sucked because I was making them up as I went. They need to be as personal as you can. And where do you truly own a presentation? Where does it really become magic? It's when you get lost in the client's life. It's when you get lost in their goals. It's when you get lost in their dreams. And what are you doing? You're doing nothing but asking questions about them. Now, the great quote he said, and this isn't 1,000% true, because he's talking about in a social setting. How do I get people to like me at school? How do I get people to like me at work? How do I get people to like me at the country club? How do I get people to like me when I meet there? What he said is true. We're applying it to sales. But there is a little truth. And the reason I say it doesn't hold up exactly, let me say the quote again. People won't remember what you said about yourself, but they'll always remember what you asked about them. Go ahead and take that and own the brilliance of that in most of life settings. Now, deposit to a sales presentation, they'll remember your basics. They really will, because they came there seeking knowledge. They came there to get that information. But think about how true it is. People won't remember what you said about yourself, but they'll always remember what you asked about them. I challenge you in a sales presentation, they will remember what you said as it relates to A, their desires, and more importantly, B, what they revealed personally. Because in essence, what they're remembering is what you asked about them. You ask them a question that leads to this. Hey, what do you, oh, you're looking for school district. Oh, well, what kind? They're going to remember talking to you about their kids. And they're going to remember you discussing the safety of the area you're looking, or how you're going to build in the redundancy, or the way to design the Jack and Jill bathroom. They're going to remember that. They revealed themselves in this. You answered it here. That's what they're going to remember. And the more to the extent that it is the emotional thing, which is exactly what is being talked about in this quote, is the greater level they are bonded to you. You are not so good that you are capable of giving a presentation that absolutely nails to the point a client has no question, no issues, I mean mathematically pure logic. We're talking Dilbert engineer to the max. You're not that good, because their minds aren't that good. Even if you could explain it that perfectly, if you took the 5 hours, maybe 20 it would take, and you got it, and they went through it on the freaking intelligent, their mind can't retain all that information. This is what you're doing. Honestly, fairly, truthfully, really, and answering things that matter. But you're trying to give them the things that matter, that they value, that they will remember, that they like, that they trust. That is sales. And that is the brilliance of Harry Connick Jr.'s quote, which I assume is actually his. The secret of being liked is to always ask 5 questions before you say anything about yourself. People won't remember what you said about yourself, but they'll always remember what you asked about them. Some of the best sales advice and life advice I ever heard. Hope it means something to you. Maybe I'm just a weirdo that needed to hear it that badly, so it means something to me. Guys, good luck. Take care. Thank you.